Now, Agnes DeMille did not wait to be invited to be part of Oklahoma. She had already done Rodeo and was rather famous, but she threw herself in front of the bus. She said, I'd like to be part of this story.
So them hiring Agnes DeMille was another innovative gesture that now looks like it was normal. It wasn't remotely normal. That was a risk to take this modern dance choreographer who had done one musical in London to ask her to choreograph this new style musical that nobody quite knew about.
Oklahoma was a collection of songs, and DeMille had a story to tell that the decision was made she would tell in a ballet. So she had to choose most of the material.
In telling a story, the essential, the prime fact is to be clear. The audience has got to know what's going on, or boredom sets in. You want them to know immediately, within 8 bars, who you are, where you are, and what you're up to. You must do just what is essential in telling the story and absolutely nothing else. Just that. And take your time. Beginners are always afraid of taking time. They think nothing's happening. Time is happening, and it works in suspense. Time can work for you as actively as a gesture, if you know how to use it. Is that clear? Okay, come on now, let's do.
Her impact on this is that so many more musicals will begin to integrate dance in that way. And we're not quite to the level of West Side Story or Fiddler on the Roof yet, but it's integrated. So much so that I think there were critics that were bemoaning, just give me a tap dance.
The specific, the detail of everything they do, and the simplest movement isn't done by accident. You had a rehearsal the other day, and there was the two ladies with the guy who plays Will Parker, and they were just doing this simple movement of calling him over with their fingers, and you spent so much. I mean, there's a way to do that, and there's a way not to do it. And Jimsy was saying to the two ladies, "Don't you know how to do this?"
With this kind of dancing, it's much more like method acting.
And even this movement, this refers to like gossiping, and the women go around and they do this to one another, and it's almost like their fingers are shaping each letter that comes out of their mouth, their words, and that should be like talking and gossiping, and it's so different from anything they've ever done.
But you have to get your whole psyche into whoever this person is in this situation. So it's not arms and legs and how high your leg goes. It's what comes out of the whole being.
The genius of the ballet at the end of the first act of Oklahoma is that it's an examination of character subtext, which was not something that the musicals of the 30s really understood or were remotely interested in.
The Dream Ballet had been suggested by Oscar Hammerstein as a circus ballet. I said, what has this got to do with the play? Well, he said, it's a dark first act, and you have to have a light ending before intermission, or the audience won't come back. They'll just leave the theater.
Agnes tells the story that she came up with the idea of Laurie having to make up her mind between Judd and Curly.
So she said to Oscar Hammerstein, this is a young girl who has a dilemma, because there's the clean-cut boy next door, and there's the obviously more experienced, guy who's the farmhand.
Laurie's scared to death. Laurie's anxious, and dreams of anxiety are not like a circus.
That was not what people dreamed about. They didn't dream Valentine boxes of candy. They dreamed about sex.
I said, Mr. Hammerstein, there's no sex in this play. He said, there's no what? I said, you have all these girls in gingham, all these boys in dusty leather. Let's have some silk stockings and bosoms and things, dance hall girls. I said, but as a girl who had never been in one would imagine it, not the way it really is.
Not what people think of Rodgers and Hammerstein, but Hammerstein said, if sex isn't at the core of any story, it's not worth telling.
And so it's not simply a piece of dance that's plugged in there to allow a spectacle. It really motivates part of the plot element, and it comes out of their desire to have this story be complete.
In Jemsy DeLapp, we have someone who was not only a dancer in the original production of Oklahoma, not on opening night, but later on, who has been replicating Agnes DeMille's choreography for years.
I think the most difficult thing for young dancers today is acting and dance. And just motivating. Even a pirouette should be motivated. And in an Agnes de Mille ballet, practically everything one does has come from a motivation of the character.
So she was able to, in movement, do what Rogers was doing with notes and what Oscar was doing with words. And so they found an equal partner.
When we go in the springtime, when we start every night working and doing the musical numbers and doing the text, that whole process, that's the students' development. They're going to be different people, different artists.